everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me this weekend. Today is Sunday, April 23rd, and this is your weekly video. Okay, a few housekeeping items before we get into it. There's going to be no video next week. I'll be traveling. And also, we have replaced the SPX symbol with a new symbol, GSPC. So that's just a change in the symbol. It represents still the same thing, the S&P 500 index. You can see it here on my screen. So next time you want to look at the S&P 500, use GSPC instead. You can see that this corrects some of the data challenges that we had been having in the past with SPX. So we're getting a much better chart now out of GSPC. Okay, so I want to cover a few things that are new in time trades that we've released over the last week. So let's flip over to the TradingView script. And what we're going to do here is I am going to show you what a new feature in the TradingView script looks like. So we've got the time trade script on this chart, okay? And if you click on the three dots here called More, right, you can now add alerts. So I've integrated this into the existing alerting engine in TradingView, which is very good. So now you can add alerts for crosses of magic levels, either regular crosses where the close of the current bar is higher, is on the other side of a magic level, either white or orange, or gaps. So you can choose to be alerted only on gaps over white or orange magic levels as well. So that is a powerful new feature. I've got that implemented. So it integrates into the existing alerting engine on TradingView. So it's you can choose to get alerts on your mobile device. So that is a very nice little upgrade. The other upgrade I want to announce is an improvement to the new Diurnal script. And the Diurnal script, if you're not familiar, this is tracking planets as they move across the sky based on the Earth's daily rotation. So this only works on 15-minute charts or less. So if we drop down into a 15-minute chart, now then the diurnal labels will show up. And let me just turn off the eclipse season here so we don't get that purple background. Now one of the addition that I added here is the sun on the descendant. So this is what normal people call sunset. And why is this interesting? Well, this is interesting because you can now drag fib time zones from sunrise to sunset. So you can see over here, we've got the sun on the ascendant. That's what normal people call sunrise. Over here, this new purple label is sun on the descendant, sunset. So now we can do something interesting here. We can go and use our fib time zone, and we can drag it from sunrise over to sunset, and we can set whatever, use whatever fractions we want to configure here. This is currently set to a heptagram or a 7-pointed star. You can use fibs, you can use eighths, whatever harmonic of the day that you want to use, and you can then divide the price action into fractions of daylight. 618 is useful, of course, and halves is also useful. So however you want to chop it up, it's very good. So this is a new technique that's available to you now through the Diurnal script because we've added sun on the descendant. And you can customize this color just by changing the descendant color over here. We can make it a little bit more opaque so it's a little bit more readable. There we go. All right, so those are the two new features that we've released this week to Time Trades customers. So by all means, play around with those. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, so let's go back to last week's video and forecast and measure how we did as usual. So last week's forecast basically called for an up week. And in part, that was based on the pattern and behavior of eclipses that we've seen. So we talked a little bit about that logic in last week's video. What we saw was actually a relatively slow week with lots of indecision candles here, not many trending candles at all, no big candles. So let me just delete this, get that out of the way. There we go. And of course, we had the solar eclipse on Thursday. So I'd give myself, maybe a C on this one. The direction was kind of like a slow grind down. Obviously, I was calling for more of a move up, and that didn't happen. However, we did not lose any of the key Gann fans here. We wicked below them, which provided some very nice intraday trading opportunities if you're into that thing. So we ended up, slightly lower on the week, but not dramatically lower at all. Okay, so let's just review some of our standard data points here as we update our forecast going forward. Okay, so we can go and take a look at liquidity. Liquidity is dropping. We're back down to, like below the lowest point here that was reached on the 31st of March. And so it's dropping a little bit. It's so hard to forecast this liquidity stuff, but suffice to say, it is still dropping a little bit. It's back down to levels that we're seeing, around the prior high in mid-August of 2022. Okay, let's take a look at breadth. Breadth is also pretty interesting and very important. So we're showing here the McClellan Summation Index, which started rolling over slightly. You can see here the slight rollover, which confirms the slight price decline that we got. And the McClellan Oscillator is back down to 0. So it's not really a positive picture on breadth. We're not seeing a huge divergence either way, either positive or negative. Breadth does seem to be confirming the softness that we saw in price last week. And it's the same picture for ES breadth. The McClellan Summation Index rolling over slightly, and the McClellan Oscillator back down to 0. Okay, so coming up this week, what do we have news-wise? Well, we've got actually a lot of earnings this week, but the following week we've got FOMC on Wednesday the 3rd, and then this partial solar eclipse, which is the second eclipse in this season, is Friday, May 5th. So we talked a little bit last week about how the pattern of prices and eclipses change, and how recently this price in this eclipse season is clearly higher than price in the last eclipse season. I do believe that we are going to see prices higher than we saw during the solar eclipse. So the second eclipse, I believe we will see a higher price at that point. Now, the other thing I want to call your attention to is this crossing of the Gann fans here. So we've got a 1x1 down anchored to March 31st, and we've got a 1x1 up anchored to the December low. Actually, that's January 6th. These cross at May 18th. Okay, so remember that date. Now, let's go and take a look at time trades and see what time trades is telling us with respect to some of the machine learning forecasts here. So we've got the S&P 500 up here. There's really very little in the short term with respect to the machine learning probabilities until we get to mid-May. So that's May 12th, we see a little bit of a move down. So let's look at Qs. again, very, very quiet on the machine learning forecast here until we get to June 1st, and then we see a big move. How about the Dow? The Dow also very, very quiet with respect to the machine learning forecast until we get to mid-May again, about May 12th. Now, this does not mean that we're just going to go sideways here, right? Remember, what these moves are forecasting are 2 standard deviation moves. So these are very big moves. So if you hit the information button here on time trades, you can see what a 1 standard deviation move is over 5 days. And on the Dow, that's minus 2%. So, that's still a relatively significant move. What we're looking for with these red and green bars are the big and rare 2 standard deviation moves. So those are 4, plus or minus 4% on the Dow. So the point here is not that we're going to go sideways and just tread water. The point here is that we're not forecasting much in terms of a 2 standard deviation move until mid-May. What you're looking at here is a screenshot of a non-directional model of spires or the spiders. Now, by non-directional model, what I mean is I'm not trying to forecast up or down. I'm just trying to forecast, is there going to be a 2 standard deviation move or not? Or is there going to be a pivot or not? And what you can see here is confirming what we see in the directional model. In this case, you can see the swim lanes at the top are empty because we're not using probabilities of a move up or move down. The swim lane of the green bars is showing the probabilities of a move, either up or down, we don't care. And the bottom swim lane is showing probabilities of a pivot, could be a low, could be a high, doesn't matter. I know the labels say pivot low or 5-day increase or decrease, but just ignore those. This is because it's a quickly pulled together proof of concept from my dev system, and I haven't updated those labels to make them correct. So the point here is that even when we do not forecast direction, we're still seeing a very quiet period coming up for the next 3-4 weeks or so. We are seeing a pivot here. Oh, look, May 19th. Remember that date I asked you to remember. That's where the Gann Fans cross, the 1-by-1 Gann Fans cross. So we're seeing potential for a pivot. I'm assuming it's going to be a pivot low. We don't know, but I think with when all things are considered, it's most likely to be a pivot low on May 19th, right when those Gann Fans cross. And here's the similar non-directional model for the Qs. We're seeing the probability of moves pick up around May 9th. Again, this is non-directional, so we're not saying these are moves up or moves down. These are just probability of a 2 standard deviation move. And then it goes back quiet again until roughly May 30th. And then we start to see some big moves coming in June and then into late July and August. And then here's the same thing for the Dow, where we see the probability of moves spike up right around May 24th, okay? So the point is that this is likely to be a relatively quiet period with a low probability of 2 standard deviation moves over the next 3-4 weeks. And I like the way this aligns with where these Gann Fans cross, because what we're seeing is a likelihood that price could come down into this area and maybe get a Gann wave inversion that's right on a Gann wave yellow before we have a probability of moving back up here. So that's kind of how I'm seeing things shake out. I think in the short term, what we're going to see here is price going up into the partial lunar eclipse, simply because there has been this pattern of basically we're in a bullish pattern. We're above the 1x1. We are above major moving averages right now. We're just taking a pause, digesting this move up that happened in March. With the second eclipse happening, we've seen this pattern of where the first eclipse, where one eclipse season is higher than the prior eclipse season, then usually what happens is the second eclipse within that season is higher than the first. So that's really the foundation of this forecast green box up here, is that this second eclipse in the season is likely to be higher than the first, because we're not getting much from the machine learning probabilities, as you saw. However, there is a lot of underlying strength in the market. It's been very resilient in the face of Mercury slowing and in the face of the Venus mass pressure index indicating a low. Both of those things were the reason for this yellow line going down here. None of that happened. Okay, so this is telling me the market is relatively strong and is showing some resilience in the face of these in the face of these down pressures. So I do think we're going to get one last pop up here into the second eclipse before we come down and retest this Gann fan here, these 1x1s right around where they cross. And I'm looking at this time period here, mid to late May, as being an excellent buying opportunity to go long. Okay, so that's the update. Now, what I want to cover next is take a look at the dollar, gold, and silver. The metals are at a very interesting juncture at the moment. So let's go and take a look at that, starting with the dollar. Okay, so what are we seeing on the dollar here? Well, we're seeing kind of a continued probability of a continued move down here, and this also is supportive for stocks, of course, as the dollar weakens. That tends to support stocks. We're in this downtrend here, and then we've got this nice cluster of moves up that starts right after the FOMC meeting. So it looks to me like there's a probability here of the dollar strengthening coming out of that meeting right into a pivot high. I don't know the extent of that, but I love how the timing aligns with major news drops. So everything seems to be lining up here for short-term dollar weakness over the next few days, followed by a burst of strength in early May. That will probably be pretty short-lived before it goes back down and starts resuming its downtrend. So that provides some interesting opportunities. Also, if you're trading the metals, we can take a look at gold here. Gold has a pretty bullish forecast coming in multiple waves, especially after April 27th. We see this small probability pivot low, 18%. But then after that, we see a nice pattern of increasing probabilities of moves up into May 25th. So gold looks like an excellent long trade. You can be very sort of selective in terms of your entries here. We've got a nice pullback. We've got some timing on April 27th. We can take a look at silver as well. Silver also looks similar. We've got a nice ramp up of probabilities of moves up into May 19th. So that looks good. But overall, we've got this big pivot high over here in August, which looks like it could be acting as a magnet over here for silver. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's had a very interesting week this week as it dropped down a little bit And we can see there's a lot of red up here. Now, again, this is a directional forecast, and one of the challenges that always exists with directional forecasts is inversions. So this is why I'm not taking this literally. I'm not saying, oh my goodness, Bitcoin's, going to 10K in mid-May. I don't think that's in the cards. I think what could happen here is we could see a continuation of this correction, and then there's a possibility of an inversion sometime in May, where this could switch and indicate probabilities of a move up. So if we go over to TradingView here and take a look at the Bitcoin chart, we can take a look at it with the Gann Fans here. And now, one of the things I like to look at is these 2x1s and 1x1s and 3x1s, sorry, the 2x1s and 3x1s down from the all-time high. Okay, so this indicates that Bitcoin is in a bullish orientation with respect to the all-time high. It's crossing these major levels that are drawn down from the all-time high. However, it is slightly below the 1x1. We lost the 1x1 this week on this week's drop, and that's coming up from Friday, March 10th. However, we're still holding strong on this green Gann fan here, which is the 3x1. So this 3x1 is supporting price. And certainly we're still in an uptrend, and we're just experiencing a correction here. I would stay long-term and intermediate-term bullish Bitcoin as long as this 3x1 down holds and this 2x1 up holds. So if I would remain a bull as long as we kind of stay above about 26K. Any break below 26K would indicate a change of character here of Bitcoin. It would indicate that we've dropped below these Gann Fans down from the all-time high, which would be a pretty big change in the pattern of what we're seeing since late December. Okay, so that's an update on Bitcoin. Let's conclude today's call with a review of the Nifty. We can go over to time trades and take a look at that. All right, so Nifty looks pretty similar to American stocks in that there's really a big gap here in probabilities during May. So this is one of the things that I think in general is super powerful with time trades, is that it can show you when there's probabilities of not much movement, which is super interesting if you're an option seller, because now you can take advantage of some of the volatility events. You can sell some calls or sell some strangles and profit from selling those callers around the market and pocket the premium because of the low probability of big moves either way. So again, it looks like we're going to be kind of range bound here. It looks like a correction in time, not necessarily price, until late May, when we start to see a resumption of this move up in the Nifty. So it's a good time to be patient. Maybe go on vacation, sell some spreads, and profit from this upcoming probability of low moves or smaller moves. All right, that's it for me. I hope you had a great week trading. Good luck this week. Trade safe, and we'll talk to you again next weekend. Thank you. Bye.